Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Of course, it's 23rd March today. We'll be talking about the historical significance of 23rd March and also what it means today for us, and of course where we are with regard to the path that was set forward for us. We'll be talking about that, the Pakistan resolution, of course, and it marked a defining moment for South Asia. If you look at the history of South Asia and the Lahore resolution and all of that, we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about, of course, today and what it means. We also saw, we saw the parade, we saw the celebrations of 23rd March, we saw, the way that the President, among the attendees, of course, the Prime Minister, Service Chief, dignitaries, the way that we celebrate 23rd March overall. And of course, other than the historical significance, the way that we look at it and what it means for us for the future. We'll be talking about all of that today. I have with me Wajih Abbasi, who's a political analyst. Thank you for being with us today. We also have with us AVM retired Ijaz Malik. Thank you for joining us today. And Lieutenant General Raza, who's former President NDU. But of course, historically speaking, 23rd March is extremely important. We know its historical significance. We know, the way that the Lahore resolution was passed. In the light of the past, how do you look at where we are, the foundation of Pakistan? And of course, today, a lot of the way we celebrate today and its significance for Pakistan as a whole.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There are two, frankly, there is not one but two significance of 23rd March. One, of course, was the 1940 resolution for the division of India in Muslim and Hindu majority areas, and the establishment of Pakistan. And the second was the inauguration of Pakistan as a republic in 1956. You remember the first constitution of Pakistan was enforced on 23rd of March 1956. So that's the another significance. And both these things are very important for the polity of Pakistan. Because in this country, of course, the 56th constitution was abrogated, and then there was that Ayub Khan period, and in 1973 the different constitution was adopted. But the fact remains that Pakistan became a republic on this historic day, and we celebrate that also on this day. But going back to the 1940 resolution of Pakistan, that is very important. When we see the change of events in India with the ascendance of BJP to Indian politics, and the Hindutva regime which they are trying to establish, and the Hindu majoritarian states that they are trying to establish in India, that speaks a lot about the sagacity of those who in 1940s and in 1930s thought of separating the Muslim majority areas of India from the other parts of that country and establish their own sovereign state. And now we see that situation for the Muslims in India and in this part of actually in what is now Pakistan would have been very difficult.
It makes us think about the thought behind Pakistan and the foundation behind it and the foresight that led to Pakistan. Of course. There's let me include Ijaz Sahab also. Ijaz Sahab, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Ijaz Sahab, there is the significance overall of having made a country, laid the foundation of Pakistan for us. We're talking about that. We're talking about, the 23rd March. We're talking about its significance historically speaking. And, Wajih Sahib is saying that, it shows a lot of foresight on the part of those, Of course, when we look at Quaid-e-Azam, we look at, the contributions of other leaders who laid the foundation for us, even the thought and the philosophy. We look at, Allama Iqbal, all of, those leaders who laid the foundation of Pakistan. It makes us go back to that. How do you look at this today, when we are nearly, of course, we are more than 62, 63 years into having Pakistan and very close to another year passing by. So how do you see it, and how do you look at it?
Definitely, the leadership at that time was a visionary. They could see that what lies ahead in case the Britishers, they left India undivided, and under the Hindu majority rule, which was on the cards at that time, what would be the fate of minorities, and particularly for the Muslims. But we have to see it in the context of the environment at that time. When not only that our leadership led by Quaid-e-Azam al-Rahma and his associates, they were not only facing a resistance by Hindus, but also from the right-wing Muslim leaders also. And then there were, feudal Muslim political leadership who were with Unionist Party or All India National Congress till as late as 1946. So against all these odds, it was the perseverance of the dynamic leadership of Quaid-e-Azam who made sure that the Muslim are galvanized towards attainment of one single objective once the Britishers leave, and that was, carving out a separate homeland for them in the Muslim majority areas, which was something for the first time probably in the human history where a nation was being carved out of a greater mass of geography and populace in the name of a religion.
But Ijaz Sahib, there's also, if we look back, of course, and now if we look at India, if we look at Modi's India today, it's also a stark reminder, it's also a case in point for why Pakistan was created, because we've seen, the way that minorities are treated, and, as far as Muslims are concerned. And it's not just, limited to the Muslims in India, it's also extended to Christians, it's also extended to other minorities. So as a state, as a country riddled with extremism at this time, Pakistan and the creation of Pakistan is a case in point for the kind of extremism at play. And the fact that, of course, like you said also, the foresight that it would have increased, and it would have been a very difficult country for Muslims to coexist in, and which is what we see happening now.
Exactly. Actually, if we just glance through our own history, the generation which saw our parents, for example, a generation before us, they had seen the independence and the crisis situation and challenges immediately post independence, and they were very clear that Pakistan was their fate, Pakistan would remain their fate, and they will remain, associated and integrated for their individual prosperity as well as collective safeguard.
Let me come back to you, Ijaz. Wajih Sahib, also, when we talk about unity, of course, it is at this time we saw the Jafar Express incident that happened, just a couple of weeks ago. And, we know that there is at this time also a need for across the board unity. you think that perhaps it is that day of the year where perhaps we can all think about, you know, becoming a unified front. And of course we are, and we all, Pakistan has a no tolerance policy to terrorism, but it is a time for unity for Pakistan to come against those that continually plot against it also.
Yeah, of course. The forces which have been against Pakistan, against the creation of the country, they were at work in 1947 also, and they have continuously been at work in this country. There have been elements which were against the establishment of the country, and they are against the integrity of the country.
Yeah.
But the general masses who are the real custodian of the country, they should think about the vested interests of those people who create that sort of propaganda against the country, and in which they use innocent minds to cultivate their agenda. To create that sort of situations.
Yeah.
And then we as a nation, we need to give confidence to all the communities in the country, religious communities, ethnic groups and all that, that they have equal stake in the country, and they are equally to gain with the prosperity and the unity of the country. Without the support, it becomes difficult to progress.
Right.
So we'll have to both the state and the political parties, and everybody has to
work together for that vision, of course. And I'm going to include General Raza also. General Raza, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
General Raza, we're talking about, of course, 23rd March, and in the light of that, the significance of it and what it means for us as a country, as a nation, to work on the vision behind Pakistan. I think it is a day for that. So we're talking about that, and I want to, talk about the latest incident, of course, as far as Jafar Express is concerned, and the call for unity across the board as a nation. And again, I was talking to Wajih Sahib here about how it is a time to reflect on the designs of those that were against the foundation, the very foundation of Pakistan, and continue to constantly deploy efforts to create terrorism within within our soil. So do you think that it is also a time for that kind of unity for us as a nation, to reflect on the principles of behind the foundation of Islam, of Pakistan?
Yes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think that is why the motto for Pakistan was first coined by the Qaid, which is unity, faith and discipline. And I hope if the nation follows that motto, I think unity, you can see, is at the top. And then it is faith. It is not only faith in your religion, but it is faith in the cause itself, faith in ourselves as well. And obviously, unless a nation is disciplined, it is very difficult, for that nation to progress without hurdles. And when we are talking of discipline, I think, and the Qaid himself was a lawyer. He also meant, that the citizens should be law-abiding. They must respect the Constitution. And he was talking, of the Constitution that time in the non-divided India. And he had actually advised the people there that you could criticize the government, but make sure that you first, make sure that you yourself are acting and following whatever constitution was there at that time in India. And it's granted that today not everything is honky dory, but we have usually overcome our imperfections. We don't like to quit, and nothing is insurmountable for us. And I'll give you just two examples for that, of our courage and tenacity. You know that we endured the fallout of the Soviet Union for 9 years, from 1979 to 1989, followed by a civil war there for another 10 years, and we stayed united. And then, recall the blowback of the attack on the World Trade Center in the United States in September 2001. And thereafter, the occupation of Afghanistan by NATO, ISAF, and, the terrorism that we faced for 20 years. We still, I think, we stayed united, and there is no reason for us, even now, not to display that kind of unity, because we are faced with terrorism, and I'm sure, with our courage, dedication, enthusiasm, and our respect for the law and the constitution, and obviously also of keeping the interest of Pakistan above petty political or personal interest. I think there is no reason why you could be not united once again to face all our challenges, whether they be economic, political, or terrorism.
We're talking about political. You mentioned. I think I'm going to include Ijaz Sab in this before I come to Wajih Sab. Ijaz Sab, something that General Raza said is that petty political objectives or gains, or recently we've seen a lot of we've seen social media being used to sort of further narratives that are anti-state. It's also a time to reflect on that, and it's also a time to reflect on Pakistan, and whether we can work towards unity at this time. Again, I talk about unity because we've seen what happened in Jafar Express. We've seen what happened with regard to the social social media being used again as to further narratives that are anti-state. So, it's a time for us to reflect against that kind of agenda that's of course clearly coming from across the border.
Well, General Raza has very well, articulated in his very well articulated comments. He has, highlighted the significance of the motto given to us by our Qaid. And remember this sequence. It is unity first. Although unfortunately, later on somehow we managed to rearrange the sequence of his saying. It used to be, and it should remain as such, unity, faith, and discipline. And as General Saab has mentioned, it is not faith in the context of religion only. This Qaid-e-Azam meant a very broader context of faith. It was faith in an individual's own self, and faith in you as a community, as a group, to not only carve out a nation, then build that nation on those principles of Islam, and build a welfare state for our people. So unity was required at that time.
But do you think we are going towards, again, it's time to reassess ourselves also. Do you think we are going towards that kind of state that the Qaid had, the vision that he had? And where are we lacking? Those are important questions for us today.
Unfortunately, we have fallen prey to our enemies' design, and very well planned fifth generation warfare, wherein we are seeing our petty differences as our ideologies, as our beacons of lights. Whereas these things were there. We had diverse cultures, we had diverse local history, we had ethnicity, and all these things were not showstopper for creation of Pakistan, because we were united. And even today, if we attach our future with Pakistan, if we keep the interest of national interest of Pakistan supreme, then we will gel together to attain those higher objectives. But unfortunately, our enemy has, made us a very fragmented, extremely polarized society where we are not willing to give space to anyone who differs in his thoughts, who differs in his language or in his outlook towards life. That's very unfortunate, and we really have to work on that with.
Right, fair enough. Let me include Wajih Abbasi. I think that's very important what General Raza and then Ijaz spoke about. I think he's talking about tolerance, and it's very important for us to reflect on whether we are as a nation going towards becoming more tolerant, or are we becoming furthering the agenda, like he said, of those that were against the foundation of Pakistan in the first place. And are we going towards that as our nation, fifth generation warfare that he's talking about? How do we deal with that?
Frankly, there was talk of unity, faith, and discipline. And discipline is very important.
Yes.
In this context. So, what is discipline? Discipline is you obey rules, and the most important rule of the country is the constitution of the country and the laws which are made under the constitution and the legal system which we have adopted for us, and which was in fact that's what Quaid-e-Azam himself, he was a constitutionalist. He always believed in the political struggle, in legal struggle. He never in his lifetime he went to jail or he went to any type of violent movement. He didn't lead any violent movement. It was on the political struggle through which he achieved Pakistan. So what we need in this country is that type of mindset where we promote we promote democracy. We accept others' rights. We accept our own rights. We play by the book. We go by the constitution and the law, and everybody gets what is it's right in the constitution. So if we go through that, and that of course, as you said, tolerance. So that is where tolerance also falls in, because when you a democratic mind, when you have a democratic mind, you tolerate the other's point of view, because Pakistan is a very diverse society. We have different languages. It's a huge country, and people speak different languages. They're from different castes, different creed, and other different faiths also. So we can, we can't impose one set of ideology or one set of ideas on all the people. We have to accept everybody's point of view.
Right.
Yeah. So if we accept everybody's point of view, then that type of things will not be there. And then when we tolerate different point of view, and we create a society in which people tolerate other points of view, then there will be no terrorism also. We unfortunately in this country we started some sort of
but of course it's the kind of extremism that
yes,
it's coming exactly, it's the agenda of our enemies, which has somehow seeped
and we are playing into their hands. We are playing into their hands. When we are intolerant to different point of views, that intolerance breeds terrorism. That intolerance breeds extremism. So that's what we are getting. So when we don't tolerate others, our fellow citizens, then those fellow citizens play into the enemy hands. That they become breeding ground for the enemy's conspiracies. So we have to think on both lines also.
Right, fair enough. Ijaz, before I go to Ijaz Sahab, General Sahab, there's of course, as a nation and the government also is very focused on the youth of today. What would you say to the youth today, you know, those that are going to branch out, are the tomorrow of Pakistan? You know, what would you say to them? What is what is that essential, you know, in your opinion, that, you know, they need to make their mantra, so to speak, for Pakistan, you know, of course, and in terms of taking ownership, do you think as youth, you know, we take enough ownership of Pakistan? You know what, it's not ask me, not what, you know, I can do for you, but what, you know, your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, really. Do you think that that is a message, that is a philosophy that resonates enough with our youth?
Well, I think the youth's minds, you know, they're very formative in nature, you know, biologically, and whatever they hear and whatever experiences they face, their mind can actually be molded accordingly. So, therefore, it is extremely important that we, the elders of the country, and this includes also the politico-military leadership of the country. It includes the academia. It includes, you know, the media. It includes the civil society. It includes the teachers. It includes the parents, the schools. We all have to ensure, you know, that enough time, money, effort is spent not only in ensuring, you know, that the development of their intellect and their mind is in the right direction, and at the same time, you know, in this information age, you know, separate efforts have to be made to protect the hijacking of the youth of the nation by again selfish either politicians or others, you know, for their own personal reasons. It is extremely important that that is done, and once that is done, I think thereafter you recall, you know, what the expectations of Allama Iqbal from the youth of Muslims, or particularly Pakistan. And, you know, he said that they should actually be like the Shaheen, you know, who is actually always trying to touch, you know, the highest of the peaks. And he was expecting them to keep their aims very, very lofty. At the same time, you know, he advised all of us, including the youth, who said that the destiny of nation lies in the hands of individuals, particularly the youth. And he actually said it very beautifully in his verse, which said that अफराद के हाथों में है अक़वाम की तकदीर हर फर्द है मिल्लत के मुक़द्दर का सितारा. Also remember, you know, what the Qaid said soon after independence in Malir, Kent, when he told the first army unit that, quote, that we have won the battle for the independence of Pakistan, but we have to face many other battles and challenges in order to retain this independence. And that is extremely important for us to know. We should also know about the sacrifices that our ancestors gave in order to get Pakistan. We should know that at least 1 million people, they lost their lives in getting Pakistan. And I think an equal number lost their homes and their families during the time of migration. So all this must be remembered, and programs like this and others, I think, would actually inculcate all these things, particularly in the minds of the youth, who may be actually forgetting what all happened and how we achieved Pakistan.
I think Raza, what General Raza is saying is extremely important, because, you know, a lot of the times we feel that it is, you know, why do we keep going back to the past? But it's so important that our youth knows, you know, where their anchor is, where their foundation is. Do you think that they get enough of that? Do you think that that information is being given, for example, to our children? It's being told enough, it's being that history is told to them enough times? Do you think that they are aware of those struggles that General Raza talks about?
Unfortunately, no. I would say, and General Saab has very rightly pointed out that somehow, as we grew up, somewhere in between, our vision and our orientation about interest about our history, that got blurred. And that was the reason that if we just look back somewhere in 90s and later on, once we had a media onslaught from across the border, people started publicly questioning the very basic, the reason for creation of Pakistan. And there were programs launched like Aman Ki Asha and collaboration with people beyond borders, and the narrative was being built that borders are irrelevant and basically we are all humans and we should seek to live together like we have been living together for generations and centuries. So we really need to work at school level, in our homes, through media, and of course the involvement of government and state institutions to inculcate that very clear vision of why Pakistan was created and why do we need to be watchful against any such attempt which is likely to get us on a tangent to the vision of our great leaders. And I think in this particular pursuit, we should utilize social media, mainstream media, rather than enemy utilizing that for, against us. We should utilize that to our advantage, and it will be a foundation stone for nation building, which we desperately need.
Wajih Sahab, that I think that's extremely important, utilizing the tools of today, and social media is certainly a very important tool today to further the narrative, to further giving out what we believe, our truth to our youth. But unfortunately, it's being used for other purposes more. And government has also taken strong initiatives to ensure that that doesn't happen. Where do you think that we are lacking as a nation?
You know what Masood Saab was saying. That's actually we have been teaching people at schools, Pakistan studies type things for last 50-55 years. But things have changed. Things have changed, and you can't do. I mean, that social media has its own importance, but the information is free. And on the internet, everything is available. You can't block anything. You don't have the tools actually. You previously probably when there were only books available, and you can you were able.
You can't curtail information.
Yeah, you can curtail.
Yes, or misinformation to a certain extent.
Now we shouldn't be on the defensive. We shouldn't be on the defensive. We shouldn't be apologetic.
Okay.
Pakistan has sound historical basis.
Right.
For the establishment of the country at sound historical basis. Our relationship with India, or our one program or other, or our anything with them doesn't affect that historical basis.
Okay.
So you should be, I mean, and we should be teach our people, and we should be there. There hasn't been effort actually in this country in the past.
There has to be a concentrated effort, you're saying, to ensure that we further the narrative of Pakistan, and we use social media.
Yeah,
and
when we are always talking about Jinnah and Qaid Azam and his vision about Pakistan, his vision never meant that we will have been constantly at war or something like that with any neighboring country.
Of
that
course,
was, that was done.
We want
that
to,
was
and
done.
this is part of our
that
manifesto.
Is that is the basis of our foreign policy which Jinnah gave us.
Yes, and which is echoed by the government today. The Prime Minister also said today that we want to have good relationship with our neighbors.
Everyone. We want friendly relations with everyone, and we don't need to be at variance with anybody to say that we are different country. We are different country, and we
have our own identity, of
geographical,
course.
historical reasons for that.
Right, of course. But then at the same time, we are, I'm going to include General Raza in this also. General Raza, of course, we want to maintain good relationship with our neighbors. And of course, like I said, the Prime Minister spoke about it today. The President also mentioned it. It's one of, our as far as our foreign policy is concerned, it's a very, it's part of our foreign policy, and we try to ensure that. But at the same time, we have to guard against evil designs of those that we see, somehow always coming through. We see terrorism seeping through, and there are proofs of that also. And so as a nation, we have the right and we have the absolute duty to ensure that we keep our borders secure and we keep ourselves secure, not only through that kind of terrorism, but also, like you said, fifth grade warfare, so to speak.
Yes, when it comes to our foreign policy, I think it should be very clear, as was also reflected in the National Security Committee of the Parliament, that our national security is first and foremost, because unless we are secure, we cannot progress economically. Unfortunately, our nemesis, particularly India, and to some extent now what is happening to the attitude of Afghanistan, our economy is being targeted, our stability is being targeted, and of course there are attacks only also on our political system and on the minds of the people. So we have to be aware of all these challenges. And our foreign policy, obviously, it is there. It was given by the Qaid, as mentioned, and it is also there in writing on the website of the Foreign Ministry that we want good relations with all countries of the world, particularly the Muslim countries and the neighboring countries. Unfortunately, you know that Afghanistan is our neighbor and it's a Muslim country, but its attitude toward Pakistan is not what is expected of a Muslim country. Similarly, as they say, we can not clap with one hand, we can clap with both hands. So while in the past, I think we have offered to them umpteen times that should come and solve all the major problems with us through a process of dialogue. But unfortunately, India is unwilling to do so, particularly on the major contentious issues like Kashmir and like the distribution of water, like Siachen. So it is actually the ball is in their court. And we have even in the past tried, a large number of confidence building measures. All that was stopped by India. India had stymied, even the SARC. Unfortunately, we hope that SARC, which was, which was started with the initiative of the Bangladeshi president at that time, I hope it is now revived once again with the joint efforts of Pakistan and Bangladesh. We have to be careful about our environment. And if we keep Pakistan's national interest at the top, then I think everything else will logically flow out from there. And once that is done, I think we will be able to surmount all our challenges now, as I said, as we have done them in the past. We are probably the only country in the world which
Right,
lives
of
with,
course.
right?
Right,
Without
undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. Thank you so much, Jal and Raza. I think sums it up very aptly. Thank you for joining us today. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you for being with us. Wajih Abbasi Sahab, AVM retired Ijaz Malik, thank you for being with us. Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan, thank you for joining us. It's an extremely important day, 23rd March. We cannot ignore the importance, and we cannot ignore what it means for us as Pakistanis, the foundation of Pakistan, and also for the future. You know, we are mandated to ensure our security of our nation. We are mandated to ensure that we follow the vision of the Qaid. We heard what the Prime Minister said today and the President with regard to that, and we hope that as a nation we can unite against the nefarious designs of those that are against the foundation of Pakistan. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.